Good afternoon. I would like to call the August meeting of Merced County Association of Governments to order. Joy, would you please call the roll?
Director Aguilar,
Present.
Director Kale,
Present.
Director Espinoza,
Present.
Director Faria,
Present.
Director Hogue,
Here.
Director McDaniel,
Present.
Director Nagy,
Present.
Director Pedroza,
Here.
Director Serrato,
Here.
Director Silvera,
Present.
Director Pereira.
Present.
Thank you, and we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I was wondering if Emily would lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that, Emily. Do we have someone to do the invocation?
By a volunteer.
Ah, thank you. Eric, appreciate that.
Heavenly Father, God, we just love you and praise you. Thank you, Father, for this opportunity. And Father, we just pray for the leaders that you've appointed here that are here today to be able to have discernment and be able to think clearly as they take a look at the items that are before them today. And we just love you and praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And thank you. All right, next is approval of the agenda. Were there any, I'm just going to ask, were there any corrections to the agenda?
No.
Okay, now you're on.
Approve.
All right.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Espinoza and seconded by Director Faria. All those in favor, or we don't have to call the roll. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we'll have public comment. Public comment is available in advance of or during the meeting. No, that's kind of funny. I was reading the wrong spot. So at this time, we'll have public comment. You'll have 3 minutes available. If you'd like to come up, we're ready for you. Any public comment? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Please stack up in these chairs. All right, next is Citizens Advisory Committee report by Shane Smith.
Thank you, Shane. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
You're welcome for joining us.
Mr. Vice Chair, it's good to see everybody again. Not a lot to report today. A couple of things have changed since the last time I saw you guys on Zoom. Number one, my hair is longer. Number two, now I am taking a turn as a chair. We had a short meeting. Want to point out a couple of things to the group. Number one, we're working to appoint one, maybe two representatives from our CAC to the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Citizens Advisory Committee. You know, we're kind of a transportation committee, but we have an opportunity to weigh in on air quality issues in the valley. I've got two members of the committee who are really on the fence, so if I give you a call and ask them to call them and encourage them to throw their hat in completely, please take my call. Second thing to point out is our committee had a pretty good discussion and adopted unanimously, or recommend adopting unanimously, the Federal Transportation Improvement Program Amendment number 4, which is the new congestion mitigation air quality projects report. But one thing to point out about that, we understand that the county has recused itself from this funding cycle looking to next year. And so there's really no concerns about the list of projects or the process by which it came about. There was an issue that I spotted and a concern that was shared by some of our West Side members, that when the county pulls out of these funding projects under MCAG, that means the cities get all the money. And maybe that's just kind of how things work out, but there was a concern that if this kind of happens over and over again, then it's the incorporated areas that get the transportation funds. So it's not to say that this was intentional, but in the practice, if this happens multiple times, and Hillmar, Santanella, et cetera, might be left behind. And city residents also drive in unincorporated areas. So just ask you guys to keep that in mind as you make your decisions about funding and other things. Beyond that, nothing of note to report. I'm happy to take questions. And if not, I will get back to my day job.
Are there any questions for Mr. Smith? You're off the hook.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pereira. Have a good meeting, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Okay, we are moving to item number 5. These are information items. Does anybody have any questions or comments for staff or? Nope, okay. We'll move on to item 6. The consent calendar items. The chair would entertain a motion. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Director Pedroso and seconded by Director McDaniel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 7, these are action items for Merced County Association of Governments. A is adopt Federal Transportation Improvement, or FTIP, and new congestion mitigation air quality projects. Matt Feld.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is the item that Shane was referring to about the CMAQ. So the board directed staff to issue a call for projects back in April. We did so, and then applications were due at the end of June, and then those applications go to a evaluation committee, which consists of the jurisdictions as well as Caltrans, and they looked at the applications, and all that material is in the packet for the results, and that is the evaluation committee's recommendation was in fact to program let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that evaluation committee recommended programming everything that's in the requested action, but they also recommended the county sidewalk infill in Planada, but just the preliminary phases, the preliminary engineering and the right-of-way. And the county, subsequent to that, elected to withdraw because of the risk of not getting the construction funding. So the way that we interpreted that is that they might fund that project with a different funding source, because with CMAQ coming up every couple of years or so, the schedule is either every 1 or 2 years. So if you get the preliminary phases, but you don't get the construction, you're not certain that you're going to actually get that construction funding from CMAQ, because it is a discretionary competitive thing. So that was my understanding of the reason for that. But anyway, so that withdrawal from county was the reason why the staff recommendation, the requested action, is to adopt a formal amendment which includes the CMAQ projects listed. And I did want to just mention one thing about the Los Banos project. So per policy, we have the Pioneer Road Widening Project policy that says up to 25% of CMAQ funds go to that project or CMAQ eligible components of that project. And they did identify a signal at Ortigalita and Pioneer, which is CMAQ eligible. So that did not need to go through the evaluation. So that was recommended per that policy. So that's basically the process in a nutshell. And if you had any questions about that process or how that went or anything about CMAQ, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. What is your pleasure?
I'll move. Second.
Who seconded it? Okay, been moved by Director McDaniel and seconded by Director Pedrosa. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item B, approve city county dinner rotation schedule. Stacy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item was the product of a number of conversations that occurred at the Technical Review Board over the last couple of months, and it was about trying to figure out the best way to move forward in resuming the city-county dinners. There was a lot of confusion, I think, between us and a number of the cities of who maintains the schedule, who decides who goes, and how does that happen. And so I had offered at that time to for the agency to put together a proposed schedule and to be the owner of that schedule, simply to just establish it and have it on repeat for 2 years, meaning we would be the ones through this body and through the TRB to say, just as a reminder, the next host for the city-county dinner is the city of Livingston, just to keep that clarity and to kind of have it all under one roof. In doing that, we also, I had offered, and this proposal includes MCAG as one of the potential hosts. That means that there are 8 hosts, which then means that every 2 years there'd be a complete cycle. I just want to point out that this does not change anything around the actual organizing of the event. So, for example, the proposed schedule has the county first. The county we would essentially just say county September of 2021, and then the county runs with it from there, staffs it, does all of everything else. As the time comes on, we'd go to the next city and say, you're up next, just as a reminder. You set the date, send out the invites, do all of the other planning. This is just an organizational step. We had talked about this over the summer, and so when I put the attached schedule in for the TRB to take action on this month, 2 things occurred that changed this staff report. One, the city of Atwater had asked to switch their spot, because I was trying to kind of do an east-west balance, and it was to coincide with, I believe, a city anniversary. And so the Atwater and Gustine swapped. So if it looks a little haphazard in the schedule, it was because that one changed and everyone agreed to it. And they also were amenable to adding MCAG. The second part that tweaked this a little bit was that when we initially started this discussion in June, and here we are in the end of August, the situation around the pandemic has changed a little, and at the TRB there was just a discussion of, since all of the jurisdictions are here at this meeting, to just have some discussion around whether we want to start with the county, who is ready in September to host in an outdoor function, or if we'd like to just wait a little longer to resume. And we thought that at that point we could reassess in January as a discussion item to see if we want to pick up in the spring. So those are both reflected in the action. Number one, it is to direct staff to maintain the schedule as proposed, which includes MCAG. And then number 2 is to make a recommendation. This body doesn't really have the authority, but no one has the authority, I believe, for the city county. But it's just a way as a region to provide direction as to whether or not we're all willing to start this process in September, or if we'd like to reassess in January.
I want to just kind of share my thoughts. I believe that starting in September is fine with me, either September or October. I think then the following dinner should be held in January. Having a dinner in December is probably tough to get everybody. So if we did a September and then the next one was in January, then it'd be January, April, July, and October ongoing. To me, that schedule makes more sense. So Atwater, is June your anniversary, or do you? Stacy, do you?
It's actually August 16th.
Yep.
It's our centennial.
Mm-hmm.
So then if next year, instead of June, it was July, that wouldn't mess up with any plans?
Our celebration is going to be about 3 to 4 months long, so I would say it probably is.
Okay, I just didn't want to, change it and then you guys wanted it in June or suggest a change. So,
Yeah,
anyways.
and just to clarify, Lori Waterman's request was just noting that that time frame of the year would be ideal. So it wasn't that it had to be June. It was, she said, we'd like to go, I think, at 2022, and Doug and Gustine said, well, we're happy to switch. And so there wasn't a real formal discussion around that it had to be. So I from my perspective, I don't think that would be an issue.
Okay. Any other discussion? Yeah.
Oh, there we go. It works, hey. I like your idea. December does get a little crammed. Everybody's got Christmas parties and whatnot. And if I see Los Banos was scheduled for December, and if you want Los Banos to pick up January,
Right. It just shift. I mean, yeah.
we have a couple of nice places to eat there, so.
Yeah. Perfect. And then the other question would be, is September good or October? What do you?
I like September.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Just one point of clarification. So if we're January, April, July, October is the new schedule, but we're going to start with September, are we then just going to jump from September to January?
Yes.
Okay. I'm ready.
Is there a motion to that effect?
Is there a motion or is it just direction?
Oh, well, it's an action item, so I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
the action is specifically to agree to MCAG taking on the role of managing the schedule, managing the rotation, and being part of it, and then I can communicate the rest to the TRB.
Oh, and then one other thought that Stacy and I had a little discussion is that when you charge for the dinner, generally, it's your individuals, but it's hard to plan exactly where it's at, and so that maybe MCAG would have an account that if everybody put in, say, $35 for a dinner, but it only costs $33, then the $2 would go into that account, and if the next meeting was a couple bucks short, the money could come out of that, just so that no individual jurisdiction is stuck making the difference up if it's not balanced.
And if I could add to it, because I think we had that discussion as well, working with these folks, especially with the pandemic, they have to order their food usually 2 weeks in advance. We need to pay with the RSVP, and if you don't show up, you're not going to get your money back, because that entity, the restaurant, has already made the purchase of that meal. And so we want to make sure we don't shortchange our restaurants. But I know each of us individually usually pay anyway for all these dinners.
That's at the board, the county supervisors pay for their own. When I was with the city used to pay for my dinner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I moved in Los Banos pays.
You guys are in the wrong city.
All right. So,
Yeah, Los Banos always paid our dinner.
but this, all right. So then, did we get a motion out of that?
I moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, so moved by Director Hoag and seconded by Director Silvera. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, 7C, adopt Measure V policies for East and West Side Regional Project Committees. Stacy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are, as you know, preparing to, coming up on the conclusion of the call for projects process for the next round of the Measure V East and West Side Regional projects, and we'll be doing an implementation plan update. And prior to starting that process, there were two areas that we thought could use some cleanup policy that before we launch into the next round. One of them is related to committee membership. So the East and West Side committees as organizations were identified in the voter-approved expenditure plan, and the governing board took action to establish them, and that action technically involved specific members. And in that instance, they weren't all directors of the board. Some jurisdictions elected to have the members from the councils that participated in the formation of the measure. So long story short, there have been changes in that regard. And for the sake of just clarity of how that those committees are populated, staff is recommending that we have the default membership of the East and West committees be the directors, unless those councils have identified somebody else. So when we're sending out, it's time to meet, East Side Committee or West Side Committee, you all would be those members that would receive that. And if your council, say for example, wanted to, I know for Dos Palos it was Councilmember McGlynn, that is still completely fine. That person just shows up to the meeting and we note, okay, you're the representative from the city. But there's just a bit of housekeeping with all the jurisdictions leading into it that is a little confusing. So it's just, this is the formal membership would be by default, would be if you're a director, your default position on that committee. And then if you want someone else to serve, then obviously that's fine too. So that's just for sake of clarity around the membership. The second is that each of those committees has a chairperson that just helps govern the process. And there has never been any discussion around a term. So what staff is proposing is that there would be, that each committee would visit the chairmanship and vice chairmanship at the start or as part of the 2-year process of the implementation plan. And so that all we're saying is that the policy would be established that conversation happens. It doesn't preclude consecutive terms. It doesn't put any other strings onto that, but it could be something that each of the individual committees could do. So if, one committee said, we want it to rotate, if the other one said, every year we're just going to keep having the same, or every 2 years the same, chairman, there's no other rules. It's just to make sure that conversation is had on some somewhat regular basis. And that's it. Unless I've missed something. So there aren't actual policies attached. It would just be by virtue of action here. It'd be documented as this is the direction we received, and it's how we would inform the process moving forward.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? You guys are boring today. Thank you. Yes. Is there a motion then to accept staff recommendations? Our Director Silvera?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd make the motion to accept the 2 staff recommendations regarding the East and West Side Projects Committees.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Director Silvera and seconded by Director Pedroza. All right. Any other discussion? We're good. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Number 8, discussion items. Is Caltrans in the house? Oh yeah, there you are, Dennis. How are you? I looked at you earlier, and I'm over 40. Forgive me for forgetting.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, of course, and directors of the board, Executive Director Stacy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come speak to all of you. It's good to see everyone again. I try to make it here and give Marlon a break every once in a while. So I hope you don't mind me coming in here and providing the Caltrans update. And before I give that update, I want to make sure that if it's okay, after I'm done with my updates regarding everything else except maintenance, I have brought my deputy of maintenance in the district, Mauricio Serrano, and I'd like to him to have the opportunity to speak as well. After I'm done.
That'd be great. That'd be fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And of course, at the end, we can take any questions you guys may have for us. All right, so let me just keep this as far as the Caltrans statewide updates. First of all, we continue to stay under emergency telework. We had originally plans to get all our buildings open back up and everybody back into the office this September. However, that's been moved back till November until we hear differently from the California Department of Human Resources. So we take direction from there, and we continue to still provide the support and efforts to maintain and operate our highways and our transportation system accordingly. Regards to a couple of new updates on Clean California, I know I provided that update in general before. The first thing is that Caltrans is going to provide a workshop and provide guidelines for the local grant that is part of Clean California. As you may have read before, it's a $1.1 billion Clean California program statewide. However, for the local grant program, it's going to consist of a $296 million over the next 2 years. And this is going to be for all the local communities where we want to be able to beautify, improve local streets, and again, roads, tribal lands, parks, and so forth, even transit centers, to really improve and beautify these areas. Now, you would have to go through these local grant applications and submittals, and right now there's 2 workshops that we're planning and scheduling. The first one is September 1st from 8:30 to 12:30, and the next workshop will be October 7th, also starting at 8:30. More information about the workshops will be included in the cleancalifornia.com webpage, so if you need more information, please go there. That is going to be a competitive program. $296 million seems a lot, but if they spread that across the state, it is not a whole lot. What I've done is I appointed a District 10 Clean California Program Coordinator in the district. His name is Sam Sherman. I will provide the detailed contact information to Stacy, and she can provide it to the rest of you. So that's my plan. But Sam will continue to work with the counties, the cities, in regards to working through this local grant program. And it's going to be a first-come, first-served basis, so the earlier we can get this started, the better. I like to see, at least within District 10 boundaries in Merced County included, to have an opportunity to compete for these funds. So I wanted to give that update on Clean California. In regards to the broadband allocation to Caltrans, part of that dollars is being allocated to Caltrans is $2.7 billion over the next 5 years. And this is in regards to expanding the network, internet connectivity across the state, especially for areas that are underserved and disadvantaged communities. So that first wave of funding is coming in, and District 10 is part of one of the first to get some of those dollars. However, we're being right now focused on 3 counties in our district: Alpine County, Amador County, and Mariposa County. We expect that as these get materialized, we will expand that beyond just those 3 counties. So eventually, we hope to see that come in this area. It's really about expanding the middle mile through our transportation infrastructure and to provide that connectivity for all those communities. So we're excited about that program. We'll be working directly with the Department of Technology and CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission, in that effort. As far as the fires, if you've been seeing that across the state, it's devastating, of course, in Northern California. Dixie Fire being the 2nd largest wildfire in California history. In our district, we had the Tamarack Fire in Alpine County, which devastated the communities in that area. We continue to, again, keep our highways safe, keep it closed when areas we need to, and hopefully we can get a lot of these under control with working with CAL FIRE. But again, our primary purpose is to make sure we can have those evacuation routes available to the counties and cities as needed, and of course support the CAL FIRE and local enforcement when these areas come in. The last thing before I turn it over to Mauricio is I want to mention again, just kind of informing the general public about work zone safety. I think I mentioned that last time. Just in this last week or so, we've lost, again, 2 contractors due to work zone incidents. And these are the traveling public traveling at high speeds, either distracted or DUI. We're not sure, but unfortunately, again, we've lost 2 contractors in a very short time and in our construction work zone. And we continue to experience a lot more work zone intrusions. We average about 10 incidents a day across the state, or actually it's more in a month. But it's very unfortunate to hear these things, and it's really sad. And Caltrans, of course, is continuing to work with industry, continuing to work with our headquarters office and our safety programs to find other ways where we can really enhance the safety in our work zones. And we all ask is that we can please watch for our folks that are working out there, be work zone alert. Again, keep your speeds down through our work zones would be greatly appreciated. And again, you know, our thoughts and our condolences go to the families, of course, and the friends that are involved, who are also a part of our Caltrans family with our contractors. So I did want to share that and hope that, again, the word can get out to really watch our folks when we travel through the work zones. And that includes our maintenance folks that are out there every day as well. With that, I'm going to ask Mauricio if you want to say a few words and talk more about the maintenance activities we're doing.
Thank you, Dennis. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the board. My name is Mauricio Serrano. I'm with Caltrans District 10 Division of Maintenance. I'll provide a brief update related to our division. Currently in Merced County, we have 7 highway maintenance projects totaling almost $14 million. These are projects that we deliver in order to extend the life of our assets. 3 projects are pavement preservation projects, 2 are culvert related projects, and 2 are structures related projects. Our goal is to go to construction in this summer and to be done by the end of this year or next year at the latest. So more detailed information regarding the projects has been included in the Caltrans letter to Merced County Association of Governments. So if you would like to get more details, it has been included in the letter. Our division continues to work in coordination with local partners so we can prioritize and relocate persons experiencing homelessness in Caltrans right away. And we follow our latest what we call interim guidance. Right now, in the maintenance side, we hired what we call an encampment coordinator specialist. This maintenance coordinator is going to be working very closely with our Caltrans task force program coordinator and with local partners to make sure that we are addressing homeless encampments in a timely manner. Our crews continue to dedicate 2 days a month to pick up litter within the county. We do it in the medium, the shoulder, the ramps, landscape areas, and we're doing it on the first and third Thursday of every month. Dennis mentioned Clean California. Because of the Clean California initiative, we are in the process of hiring a crew dedicated to the Merced area. This maintenance crew is going to be dedicated for litter removal activities only. So we're going to be working 5 days a week for the next 2 years addressing the litter issue. Also, our field maintenance crews will continue to do routine sign replacements, shoulder grading, culvert cleaning, and other paving operations along I-5 right now. So that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Mauricio? Director Espinoza? Or comments?
Thank you. I always have comments.
Yeah, I know.
I think I addressed the Charles Avenue overpass in South Merced. And I know that, hopefully the infrastructure plan moves forward, and if California gets more funds, and, I would ask Caltrans to I know we have a lot of projects here in our county, and I'm not trying to take away from the rest, but if we have funds, and if Caltrans is able to, renew, remodel the overpass over Charles Avenue, I would certainly appreciate that. It's very unsafe. It's also very unsafe, and for crossing, for especially high school kids going from on the west over to the high school in Egolo Valley High School. So, and there's a lot of homeless in and around there that walk through there. So that it's very unsafe. So, like I said again, I don't want to take away from other projects, important projects that we have here, especially Campus Parkway and Iguara Merced Expressway and the rest of the projects in our county. So certainly if Caltrans can see that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Sure. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dennis, on the Clean California grant, is it statewide? So they didn't give like an allocation to District 10. It's competitive across the whole state.
So the allocation for the local programs, the 296 million, is statewide. So far as distribution to each district, it has not been determined. So my recommendation, and this is what I'm challenging my appoint person, Sam, is to really get on this early, as soon as that workshop gets out there to all of you, is to really have things in place, ready to go. And he's going to be willing to work with each of the county or cities who want to compete for this local grant and make it so it can be very competitive, if not successful, when it gets to the headquarters approval. We did get a allocation just for the state side of the house. There's not a whole lot of money to be spread across the board as well, but the state is, in District 10, is specifically looking at some beautification projects in certain counties, and we're trying to spread what we got, which is only 9.6 million. I think it was, and that includes about $6 million just for beautification projects, and then I think we have like $2 million for
Safety enhancement.
yes, the safety enhancement, which is the infrastructure improvements that we need to make at interchanges or bridges to kind of make it more safe, and of course prevent other encampments from occurring. So that's not a whole lot of money that's come into District 10, so we have to really strategize, prioritize that little dollars that we get here in District 10 on the state side. And so we want to be successful also on the local side as well. And of course, I'm always going to be pleading up there in headquarters, if other districts are not delivering and we're ready to deliver, why not? So that's how we're going to approach it here in District 10.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Yeah.
I just want to thank you, gentlemen, for your work, especially on the Clean California program. You have a very large task in front of you. It's pretty gargantuan task. Appreciate that. Appreciate your work. You have a partner in the city, Merced, and thank you too for your work on our delegated maintenance committee. I think hopefully, working with that, partnering with you guys, we can really, just make some progress and contain this issue better. So, thanks again, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you for the comments, Director.
Yeah, and then I have a couple.
Yes.
So you'd sent Stacy kind of some projects that Caltrans is working on.
Yes.
One of those is putting a guardrail on Emma Street in Snelling. There's the cars coming around fast. So I sent that over to Dana Hertfelter at the county Public Works Department. We're looking at closing that road because what people are doing is, they're coming into town and they're going straight, going about 3 blocks, turning left, trying to get ahead of slow traffic on Highway 59. And it's really, some days a kid's going to get hit. I mean, I've actually seen close calls. And so just wanted to make sure that we're coordinating. So if you guys are going to put guardrail up and we can get her closed, that maybe we're not duplicating work. The second one is that it appears that Caltrans is kind of changing a little bit of their funding to try to encourage more, bus transportation, alternative modes, right? But here in Merced County, we've got some Highway 99 issues that need to be resolved. So we're just hoping that, we can get Highway 99 3 lanes the whole way before we quit spending money on widening and improving highways and focusing on the alternative modes. Out here in the valley, right, as you know, we all use our vehicles and if and one of the thoughts, if you don't make Highway 99 3 lanes, right, and traffic builds up, people are going to get off the highway, take surface streets, and actually travel longer distances and increase, pollution and emissions. So, just a thought there. And then the other one, I've talked to our public service officer from Highway Patrol. One of the number one accidents for youth is overcorrecting or lane changes, right? And so one of the thoughts I had, and my dad taught me this when I was a kid, I used it to teach my kids, but when we're teaching them how to drive, is that they, slow down to maybe 20 or 30 miles an hour, take the right 2 wheels of the vehicle off onto the shoulder, and then come back on. And then increase 5 or 10 miles an hour, do the same thing, right? So the first time it happens, you're not overcorrecting. And I have a sister, 3 or 5 years older than me, and she did that as a 16-year-old and was in the hospital for a long time. And of course, she survived, and it all worked out well. But that prompted my dad to teach me. So I've asked Officer Tipler to kind of move that up through through CHP. method of communication. And just want to make you aware of it. If you think that's a good idea, maybe through Caltrans, you could kind of also get it moving, and maybe we can make when somebody takes driver's education, that's one of the tools that they need to be taught. Anyways, and then finally, and I think I mentioned this before, but in case I didn't, is Caltrans has planted some oak trees as a part of revegetating, construction sites, and unfortunately, oak trees get to be 5-6 foot across, and out where I live, people have used them to commit suicide. Right, and so if it's an accident, so it just seems like from a safety standpoint that you would want to use more shrubs and bushes or willows or something that if a car hits it, it slows them down instead of stopping them with a huge impact. And that was it. So thank you. Glad you're both here. I know we talk and we appreciate you, especially, you, Director, taking your time to come and visit us locally is really appreciated. And Mauricio, it's always good to hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we definitely took notes of all your comments. We will follow back up with the appropriate team in respect to the CHP, and the good news is that Caltrans, CHP, and DMV are all under one umbrella with CalSTA, and so that we do have meetings with the commissioner, we have meetings with the director for DMV, and so maybe this is an opportunity where we can coordinate and cooperate some of that education out to the driver's ed side of the house. Right. And we've done that before in the past on certain things, so especially when it comes to winter driving, when it comes to how do we make sure we handle during the fog and rains and all sorts of extreme weather. So I think we'll definitely look into that.
Okay. Well,
but thank you.
I have one question.
Sure. Director Kale.
Do you guys have any further new approaches to dealing with the homeless on Caltrans land?
So if I understand correctly, Director Kale, that's correct. You're asking if we have any photos in regards...
any new or further attention going towards that?
New or further attention going towards, was it homeless?
Yeah, the homeless that are parked out in your land, for example, in Atwater, they're on a freeway overpass, and they're embedded into that overpass.
Embankment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
yes.
we do experience a lot of that infrastructure damage due to the encampments in these areas, and we do, again, that's why towards Clean California, one avenue is to enhance that and make it more safe for others to not get into that area. But we do have experienced that, and then also making priorities of all these locations. We are trying to step it up in regarding to encampment removals. We do have more interim guidance from headquarters that are allowing us to do more than just level 1 and 2, which was delegated to me in each of the districts, but also levels 3 and 4, which is a good news, is that we're working even closer with our partners to see if we can address those types of encampment sites as well. And again, we follow our policy. We work with all of you before we do anything. We want to make sure we're on the same page as we address them.
That's as of just a few days ago.
Yes, that just recently happened. So we're looking forward to, again, stepping that up.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Oh.
If I may, wanted to thank you for all the work you're doing there through Los Banos. I want to remind Caltrans that westbound on 152 out of Los Banos in the morning, there are so many commuters. Any work that gets done, I've gotten a few phone calls about if they could cut work off a little earlier, then the night, run the night and cut it off before the 5 o'clock. 'Cause about 5 o'clock you start seeing people really pour out there. So that can really get, it's,
Yeah.
what is it, 10, 12,000 cars? Is it up to that? Yeah, it's probably about 10, 12,000 cars leaving Los Banos. That doesn't count the other 40,000 going through town. But that's get the rush there. So we sure appreciate that. And we sure appreciate the work you're doing there on 152 there at 11th Street. That's looking really nice there. And I hear it from the citizens. I hear the good and I hear the bad. So the bad is not bad. I mean, it's just, the good is thanks for fixing that place up. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to thank Stacy, who's been a great partner, and I know you all communicate with her, and she really communicates me and lets me know ahead of time a lot of the challenges and issues you all have. And so I take those to heart, and my deputies understand that we need to get on these concerns, and we try to do our best to address them timely. So again, appreciate our partnership with Stacy Guzman, your executive director.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Just one more comment. I drive the whole county. I'm all over the county. I noticed the work all over the county, not just Los Banos, and it does show. And I don't know. Lately, the last few years, and of course, we've been Measure V to help out, but you guys have been doing just a dynamite job, and I very much appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Director. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Mauricio.
Okay, we'll move to item B, the 2022 STIP. Matt? Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is an information item. We wanted to let you know what the staff approach to developing the RTIP this cycle is. So the STIP, State Transportation Improvement Program, is every 2 years, and this is a major state transportation budget, a 5-year budget for major capital projects. And so every 2 years that gets updated, and MCAG nominates via the RTIP, the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, and sends that up to the state. And so the approach that we're taking this cycle is based on policy that was adopted last cycle. So last cycle, the board recommended for Atwater Merced Expressway $29 million to construct Phase 1B, and they also adopted a policy, the Pioneer Project policy that I mentioned earlier, that future STIP funding would be recommended for that project. So based on that policy, our approach is that we've initiated conversations with Los Banos staff, because they are underway with their Pioneer Project development, and they have consultants helping them looking at the entire project and all the different aspects to that. So staff's communicating with them, and we'll be bringing a draft RTIP through committees in September, and then that could be considered for adoption in October. The deadline to get it up to the state is December 15th. So that's basically the path that we're following. And so you'll be seeing this again at least twice more. And if you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer those.
Well, I don't see any questions. I think you're good. But don't go away.
Okay.
Item 8C, the REAP funding update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is also information only. We wanted to let you know that work is in progress per your direction a few months ago to convene a work group of jurisdiction staff to discuss regional approaches to using the REAP money, the Regional Early Action Planning money from the state, of which $1 million is at your discretion of how to direct that money be used. And so that work group has met once, and there was a discussion last week as well, and they wanted to convene another work group. So that second work group meeting is Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, and we'll be sending out that agenda. And there were questions which we'll be answering. There was a request for additional information about what the other 7 COGs in the valley are doing, and then also some questions about the new REAP 2 program, which there is some information in your packet on that. And so we only have preliminary information on REAP 2, but it looks like it might be about $4 million. So $1 million in REAP 1, $4 million in REAP 2. Obviously REAP 2, is a proportionally bigger deal. But again, it's very preliminary. We will be awaiting final guidelines from the state on the actual particulars of that. But anyway, there, just to let you know, that discussion, is ongoing, and following the next work group meeting, then we might be coming back with something next month, if that proves to be the case.
Is one of the approved uses for REAP to incentivize a affordable housing developer to come to town?
For REAP 1, I would say no, because REAP 1 is for planning and planning support. That to me sounds more like an implementation, something which REAP 2 seems to be eligible for REAP 2.
Right, but if we're gonna try to bring an affordable housing developer to the county, maybe some planning dollars could be used in that area?
Planning dollars could be used to plan a mechanism by which those sorts of things could happen.
I mean, if one of the jurisdictions could identify a developer who's interested in doing an affordable housing project here, then could some of that $1 million be used to help him plan a development?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, I didn't get that. Yeah, so things like general plan amendments and, zoning changes, code changes, those things are eligible for REAP 1. Yeah, sorry.
No, don't worry. That's not how I asked the question originally. You fine-tuned me. So thank you.
And staff time, both from the jurisdiction and the consultant or anyone else involved, could be also paid for with REAP 1.
Oh.
Yes.
So then if we could find a local expert in putting together an affordable housing project, then some of that money could be used to pay them to help put it together?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions for Matt? Director Silvera?
Who's on the working group? Is it the technical review board?
We're inviting the technical review board and the planning staff.
Okay.
And anybody else that the technical review board wishes to bring along.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I mentioned that because there's some consultant staff and a variety of arrangements.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
We will now move to the Transit Joint Powers Authority of Merced County. We have no items, so we will move to Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority. I see Eric in the house, but we have no items there either. Thank you. Other reports, Executive Director report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to mention a couple of things. For transit, I do just want to mention a trend. We've been here before, but we and I think the industry at large is still struggling with driver shortages that seem to ebb and flow. Some COVID, some just this weird employment dynamic that's happening. I speculate to say that probably schools returning and school bus drivers and that dynamic impacting it as well. And just yesterday we announced that for YARTS, we don't talk a lot about YARTS here, but we're having to, at the request of our contractor, reduce our weekday service a bit due to driver shortages. And just to underline the severity of it, those of you who know, we work with VIA as our contractor, and both Denise Demery and Curtis Riggs are driving buses at this point. So real shortage. Just want to let you know we are able to maintain our weekend service, but service levels, but through the first part of September, we're actually, I think as of today, I'm looking at Skylar if those changes were implemented today for our weekday service reductions. And Skylar, I know I've introduced him before, but he's one of our assistant transit managers, and Christine's out today, so he is my go-to. Sorry, I should have warned you about that. Also, with YARTS, just to let you know, because we do contract with VIA, and we have since the start of time, even though we have procured that contract a number of times, we are preparing to release our operations and maintenance RFP for those services for YARTS. It's required of us by the Federal Transit Administration, so we're preparing to do that. You'll see it out on the street. Doesn't necessarily mean we end up with a new contractor, but it could mean we end up with a new contractor. So just to let you know that is underway, and that will have to be in place by November 1st of 2022. Thank you, Alicia, our procurement manager. Also, just to mention that we just reviewed the final design and the plans for our transit building next door, working on the permitting process, and hope to be going out to construction in the winter of next year. Spring this year. All right, that's even better than my last update. So hopefully we'll be moving quickly on our transit building next door, and that's under NAV's management. Also want to mention that just before this meeting, at the direction of the board, the 5 board members that were part of the committee to conduct my performance evaluation met. The request and the action included that happened before the August meeting. Technically it did. We concluded at 2:59. Just to report out on that, I promise I'm almost done. We are scheduled, the chair, the vice chair, myself, Eric, at this point to meet with the chancellor and any other UC staff on September 1st on the landfill gas to energy project. And thank you to the vice chairman for helping us break the communication block and get a response from the chancellor's office. And I don't know, I can't read my handwriting, so I'm just gonna go to my last one, which is just as a point of clarification, it's on your agenda. Next month's meeting is in Gustine, but it will not be at the council chambers. It is at the community center. So just file that away so that we don't all show up next month at the city hall. It's at the community center.
Gal Goman, yeah.
I will. You'll get that. And then last but not least, I am really going to turn off my phone tomorrow and take a day off. I turn 41 tomorrow. It's my last day. When you said I'm older than 40, I will be too in the morning. So you can call any of those bright, wonderful folks out there, and of course me, but I might be a little slow to answer. And that's my report, unless you have any specific questions.
You don't look a day over 41.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Director's reports. I'll start on the left. If you have something, press your button and talk. One?
Thank you.
Really? Huh? Somebody get a thermometer.
Happy birthday, Stacy.
Thank you.
John's recording it. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday again.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Matt?
Happy birthday, Stacy.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, and that must have been some review if you have to take tomorrow off.
I did. I do. Man.
Happy birthday, and if you could have one of the staff take a picture of Mr. Rand driving that, I would appreciate that.
Nothing to report, but happy birthday, Stacy.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you.
I guess as chair, I will say we evaluated the executive director, and she passed. So, no, it was a good evaluation, and I think y'all know that. So, all right, we will now prepare for closed session. We'll do public comment. If anybody has public comment for the closed session items, we'll take that now. Okay, seeing none, we will go into closed session.
And for the record, this closed session is to discuss the claim of Michael Joe Buckley against Regional Waste Management Authority.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll go to 310. Okay, we'll call the meeting back into session. So a report out, our attorney was given direction, and that's it. Any other items come before the board? Meeting adjourned.
Yay.
Let me go grab my phone.
Yeah.